me. I was muted there. Let's start that over. Welcome back. Welcome back to another episode of the HKB podcast. Thanks for joining. Thanks for tuning in. If you guys would do me a favor, like, comment, share, all those things. If you're watching on YouTube, give us a like, give us a subscribe. We appreciate it. Thank you guys so much. Give me that audio check. You guys know how this goes every week. Let me know that you can hear me, see me all right now that I got the mic off mute. So, gonna have some fun tonight. Big episode for you. We got the man, the one and only Mike Elsea in the house tonight. We're going to bring him on here in just a moment and talk to him about spring tactics. I'm excited about that. Hopefully you guys are as well. And then later on in the episode, we're going to have the top three, the remaining top three from the HKB State Championship. So looking forward to all that as well. All right, guys. It has been a wild and crazy week already. We crowned our first state champion earlier this week. Hopefully you guys got to see some of the coverage from that. I hear some of the what? Oh, sorry guys, I was reading the comments there. I see some of the competitors jumping in right now and actually watching with us live tonight. But yeah, we've had some wild weather since then. You know, at the state championship, we were talking about the weather and how it could be better. I actually think we got some of the best weather we could have had comparably to what we've seen here lately with the wind and the cold. You know, guys, you look at today's results from Monroe, one fish caught by Merlin, and man, you know what? Tough dude right there, battling the rain and the storms and the wind all day and the cold out there fishing on Monroe. And that can be pretty choppy, pretty rough in certain areas, depending on where you're at. And found a way to catch a fish, you know, and it surprised me. I didn't think a fish would be caught today. And then tomorrow we got guys going out again for grassroots bass yakking on Monroe and West Boggs. No one fished West Boggs today, but I do believe we have some anglers tomorrow fishing in very windy conditions potentially, you know, cold conditions. We got Indiana kayak anglers coming up this weekend. If you haven't signed up for that event, make sure you get signed up. You know, Monroe is definitely fishing tough right now, but you know, a couple fish could get you some really solid Angler of the Year points here. I do think things will turn around pretty quick, and we're going to talk about spring and what these fish want to do, what they have to do, just what's their nature. And hopefully we'll see that happen this weekend for the Monroe event. And we'll see some big fish caught. You know, numbers are definitely going to be hard to come by in these events, but it never fails this time of year out at Monroe. Somebody catches, you know, a big fish, potentially a personal best. I set my personal best 3 times last year in one day on Monroe. You know, before that, my personal best was 20 and a quarter, and I reset it 3 times in one day. It was just pretty awesome. So yeah, I mean, weather's definitely going to play a part in the upcoming events, but the season's kicking off. Nevertheless, you know, we're going to get things going. The state championship kicked it off last weekend, and then we've got Grubby with 2 events, IKA with an event Saturday on Monroe, and things are happening. It's time to go. You know, next week we have grassroots bass yakking on. Let me see if I can get this right. Brush Creek and Bluegrass and Sullivan, I think. I might be getting that mixed up. No, Brush Creek, Bluegrass, Sullivan next week. Brush Creek originally was this week, and they moved it. So make sure you get signed up for those events if you haven't already. Thursday through Monday, you pick which day you want to fish prior to the start of the tournament. You go out there and you compete and do what you can. So get signed up for those events next week. And then, of course, we have Southern Indiana Yak Anglers Club kicking off things April 1st with their annual charity event. This year, it's supporting the Fallen Outdoors. You may remember from our episode with them earlier last year, where we released their schedule, talking a lot about that with Justin Staley. So proceeds from that event, they're going to take a portion of the pot and give that to the Fallen Outdoors to help out their cause here in the state of Indiana. But so that starts April 1st, runs through the entire month, and that's all Indiana public waters. So make sure to get signed up for that. And then they also have their first event on Patoka Lake. I want to say, I don't have it written down, but that's later on in the month. Both of those are live, though, on Tourney X. So make sure to check those out, guys, and get signed up. Get ready. The season's popping off. Let's do it, right? Jeremiah Thompson. Did you guys see this fish from Jeremiah before we get into the rest of tonight's episode? I mean, he caught a massive smallmouth the other day. Went out on Sugar Creek. Let me show it to you guys. Let me see if I can do that real quick. Get out of here. There we go. Check this, guys. Look at that. Big old smallie. Jeremiah Thompson out on Sugar Creek. He did a little go live like 15 minutes after he caught this fish, and he was still shaking. The nerves were pumping. It was awesome to see. 21.25 inches, and that is that's leading the Indiana big bass hunt from IKA right now in the smallmouth category. I don't know if that's going to get broken. That might be the big one for the year in the smallmouth category. So watch out. You're gonna have to try and beat a 21.25. That's an awesome fish right there from the man Jeremiah Thompson, smallmouth killer. Sugar Creek guru right there. All right, let's see here. Any comments before we move on? Yep. All right, cool. We're going to move on then. Guys, tonight is all about spring tactics with national champion, newly state champion, Mike Elsea. I'm pumped about it. We're going to talk about everything from like right now, waters in the high 40s, all the way through that spawn, early post-spawn period. We're going to talk about that with Mike. And, man, this is a guy who's been successful not only in the front of the boat, but also from the seat of a kayak. His resume tells it all. And I can't think of anybody better to talk about spring tactics with us. He just put those tactics to good use, winning the state championship. So we're going to bring him on here in just a second. Before we do that, though, real quick, guys, tonight's episode is presented by BIZZ. You see them on the hat here. You see their logo over there. BIZZ has been a huge sponsor, not only of myself, but Hoosier Kayak Bassin, sponsor of the state championship. Doing big things, man. Big things this year. BIZZ has been around locally, started in Northern Illinois. They moved to North Carolina a little while ago and making fantastic soft plastic baits. But they recently merged. If you didn't hear, they merged with a company called True South Custom Lures. John is a wizard at making, buzz baits and spinner baits and jigs of all kinds. And so they merged together. And you know what? Better than me tell it. Let me show this little video for you guys, and they'll tell you all about it themselves. All right, here we go. And right after this, we'll be back with Mike Elsea.
Since the start, BIZZ has always had the vision of where we want to go. BIZZ partnering with True South starts a new era of innovation and value.
This partnership with BIZZ elevates us to the next level. Our brands coming together creates an unparalleled customer experience.
"20 years of combined experience brings innovation,
Quality
performance,
and value.
Inside our North Carolina warehouse, our products are handmade and injected with our heart and soul.
Simply put, our products are built, not bought.
Anglers want great products, and we make them.
We're back. We're back. What's going on, Mike?
That promo.
You like that promo?
I do, man. It's funny. I personally, I'm not affiliated with BIZZ Baits, but during that state championship, we got all of us anglers got a nice little package, for being there, and within that package was some BIZZ Baits crawls and things like that. And man, I tell you what, I happen to have a nice little pack of a green with an orange belly crawl, and it made for a perfect chatterbait trailer. And
Heck yeah,
I'm a believer, and I like them.
Nice, dude. That's what I like to hear right there. None of this was planned. It would probably seem that way from the outside, but Mike Elsea being on tonight was a part of the Spring Tactics episode. Had no clue he was going to be also the state championship winner. I mean, I knew there was a good chance. It's Mike Elsea, he performs, right? But this was all, BIZZ Baits and the Spring Tactics thing. Wasn't planned all like this, but it's working out perfectly. Like you said, BIZZ Baits threw in some packs of baits to all of our anglers, plus a package for the winner, which was you. And you were using the cutter crawl, which is their swimming style crawl. They've got a couple different ones, but that was one of the baits that really kind of launched the business. And it's great to hear that you got the win on that. I've already shared that story with the owner, and he was pumped to hear that as well, Brian. Yeah, man. So congratulations once again. First ever state champion. That's awesome, man.
Cool.
Definitely want to talk to you about how that feels and everything, but we're going to kind of recap the state championship on the back end of this. First,
of course,
we're going to get into this spring tactics thing, which, we're talking about, from right now, our water temperatures in the state are ranging greatly. If you're on a smaller body of water, it might be a little bit warmer, but your mid to bigger lakes right now are in the 40s. Could be low 40s in the northern half, could be high 40s in the central southern part, but it's cold. It's cold.
It is cold. Yeah. And, welcome to Indiana. If you don't like the weather, just wait 5 minutes. Right.
Right.
It's been, a couple weeks ago, it was like 65 and it's just like beautiful spring weather. And now today we've got, I don't know what the temperature is out there, but monsoon season and 30 mile an hour winds. And it makes things a little tough right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's crazy. The day after the championship, we had like freezing rain here at my house, and I live in Franklin. I know you're not far in the Mooresville area, I think it is. And I mean, goodness,
we couldn't have timed that any better, man.
Right, we got lucky. We got really lucky.
Wow.
So it could have been pretty bad. And then, like I started at the beginning of this episode, we started talking about how this week and we're kicking off the season, and we've got guys that are going to be fishing in some really tough conditions. So let's kind of start there, right, with this spring tactics things. Spring, the 20th, it's officially spring. We've got ice off mostly across the entire state. The water is trying to warm up. What do these fish want to do this time of year?
And from my experience, throughout this time of year, I mean, the fish are wanting to get shallow. They're wanting to go to the bank. Spawn is not too awful far off, at least from a calendar standpoint. Usually here in the Midwest, Indiana specifically, I've seen fish on beds before, and I actually have seen them on beds before in March, believe it or not.
Yeah, I've seen it.
But typically it's April, May. But yeah, as daylight gets longer, water temperatures start to warm. These fish are wanting to move up, and they're going to move up. regardless. I feel anyway. They may get slowed down a little bit, or once they get up there, then they, like today, major cold front comes through, and they may get lockjaw, but they're still up there.
Gotcha. So, when you're looking at a lake, whether it's your home lake or a new lake, this time of year, you're trying to figure out where are these fish at? When we say shallow, they want to move up shallow, and that's pretty broad, right? So in the wintertime, they're gonna fall back into those summer type haunts, those winter haunts where it's really, deep water access, really close by. They may be in some of the deepest parts of the lake. Where are they at right now? Where are they trying to go?
Well, I mean, I when I'm looking around trying to dissect a lake to figure out, where I think these fish are going to be, I know where they're wanting to go. They're wanting to go to the bank. But the conditions may not be set up just yet for them to actually be up all the way up on the bank. So, the next thing you look for is staging areas. And that's the big thing. You want a staging area, and that could be anything from a long point, the main lake point, or a secondary point, or a gravel bar, or something that has close access to deep water where they're coming out of their winter haunts. And, they don't necessarily want to have to travel very far to get to that shallow cover. And, taking different things into consideration, such as current, bait and all that adds up together, finding those places where they just basically stage at, waiting for the right conditions, waiting for the right type of daylight, waiting for the right type of, water temperature. So then they can make that last major push, to the bank to spawn.
Sure. Now, so let's kind of talk, and it's not so much about temperature. A lot of times we get hung up on temperature, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it is more about like what you're talking about, warming trend. Do we have 3 or 4 days of sunlight? Do we have powerhouse cold fronts coming? Those are the things that really matter more than the temperature of the lake. Obviously, that temperature has an impact, but you can get on some crazy good bites in 40-degree water and low 50-degree water, and you can have days that really struggle, right?
Yep.
So, but to break down the bait, so we're in the staging portion of this, right? I like how you kind of said that, right? The fish are staging up. They're getting ready to move up. Of course, like any time of the year, you always have fish that are going to be shallow and in all different phases, right? But the bulk of the fish is what we're talking about here, right? And they're staging up. What kind of tactics are you using to catch those staging fish?
Typically I like moving baits. If you're fishing staging areas that have grass nearby or are the staging areas themselves, everybody knows the chatterbait is hard to beat this time of year. Spinner baits, rattle traps, lipless crankbaits, things like that. Most of the time, you're looking for reaction bites. Those fish are wanting to feed from, at different times of the day. I firmly believe that there are, feeding times. A lot of it is early in the morning. Other times, you have a feeding window in the middle of the day or, early afternoon or something like that. But, the water's still pretty cold. So those, you can't really bank on, trying to hit them as they're feeding. But, you can get them on a reaction type bait. Jerk bait is another great one. Things like that.
Gotcha. And what kind of depth range are you generally looking at? Right, like every lake is different, and conditions are going to play a part. But we're talking about like you're just out on the lake for the first time, breaking it down. Like, what depth range are you trying to start at to find fish, and then kind of which way are you working?
I'd say 3 to 10 is really. I know that's kind of a broad range, but personally, I don't like to fish anything much deeper than 10 foot anyway, regardless of the time of year. And there's always going to be fish, fairly shallow, but 3 to 5, 5 to 7, that kind of thing is usually where I am most comfortable targeting.
Right. Again, of course, that's going to vary. Highland Reservoir, creek, a river. That sort of a smaller impoundment like we were on for the state championship. Now, kind of moving into the state championship conditions, weather very similar to what we have now, kind of hit or miss, a little bit of northern and eastern winds, which seem to be very common lately, or crazy southern wind. There's no like happy median, but water temps on Summit Lake were, I think on practice day, you guys were seeing 50s, right? Mid 50s.
Yeah, there towards the end of the last practice day, which the sun was out, it wasn't very windy. Get back in a protected pocket, and I actually saw like 51, almost 52 in places.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, it tanked.
Right. The bottom fell out. So kind of backing up a little bit, for those of you that didn't catch some of the coverage leading up and during the event, Summit Lake was frozen 2 weeks prior to the event. A week prior to the event, half of the lake was frozen.
Yes.
Half of it was open in the center, but the pockets were still frozen.
And I'm sorry, Sam, but the funny thing about that too is, the whole section of the lake that had 2 inches of ice on it was the warmest water of the whole lake. 6 days later, craziest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, nuts. And what would cause that? I don't really know. I guess the wind was pushing the cold air into the northern part.
The wind and the rain that we got 2 or 3 days ahead of the event had wiped all that out for sure.
Yeah, it had to. And on a small lake like that, it can fluctuate, I think, a little bit more than what you would see in a larger lake. But still, I mean, it was pretty wild. Not to mention, I think all of the fish that were caught in the northernmost part of that lake. And so fast forwarding back to where we were, tournament morning, you guys launched, and I mean, it was cold water, like what, 44, 45 at best on Saturday morning?
Yeah, I believe so. Something like that. I mean, I think it maybe got up to like 46, 47. Towards the end of the day, it did break 50 or so on the first day, but the second day, it never even got that high. It kept getting colder the whole time.
Yeah, exactly. So it was kind of flip-flopped, right? So Saturday, it was really, really cold when you guys started, and it kind of warmed up throughout the day, both temperature and water temperature. And then on Sunday, it seemed like it was a little bit warmer when we launched than it was when we took out. It just kind of seemed like it got colder throughout the day, and the water temperatures never really rose. But you guys were able to find some fish. So kind of talk about your strategy for this event and how you were able to find those fish and kind of catch them.
Well, it just kind of goes right in line with, the whole spring tactic thing. Those fish were wanting to move up. And myself and as everybody, will know later and hear from him, Drew Duncan, we found an area that had a little creek channel in it, and those fish were using it as a highway to move in from their winter haunts, looking for spawning areas or potential spawning areas. And so, we had about 200, 300 yard stretch, maybe the most, that we just kept going back and forth, and creek channel it had them in there. Just had to kind of trick them into biting from time to time. Had different kinds of cover in there as well. Had wood cover, had grass, had all the right components. And then, it was a protected, little area of the lake as well. So had the warmest water of the whole entire lake.
Yeah.
And every boat that ever launched on that lake that weekend knew it. It was crazy in there.
Well, and that area was kind of that perfect storm. A lot of times when breaking down a lake or new water, and I've heard this over the years so many times from the guys that fish at your level, both on the boat side and the kayak side, you're always looking for those 3 things that come together, right? And that was the only section of the lake, and I traveled around quite a bit, where it had a little bit of everything. Like you said, it had a little bit of a creek channel there. It had wood, it had grass, it had shallow flats, it had deep water access, and of course the warm water there definitely helped. But that's the thing that you're always looking for, right? When you go into these tournaments and you're breaking down new water or water you're familiar with, it's not just a point, not just any old point will do, right? It's the point with the creek channel bend on it and that little row of stumps or rock. It's those three things that come together. And that seems to be what you guys found there was multiple pieces working in conjunction to really kind of be able to hone in on what you needed to do.
Yeah. I mean, that's exactly right. Food, water, cover. I mean,
Yeah.
that's pretty much the instant, the essence of it. From any type of wildlife standpoint, that's what you look for. That's what
Absolutely.
they want.
Yeah, absolutely. So what is one of the biggest mistakes you see people make in the spring, especially in this kind of period we're talking about right now where, it's that early period, cold water. We're not quite into the pre-spawn yet.
I would say one of the biggest mistakes, and I'm probably the worst at it. I mean, I'm like the most guilty of it, is fishing too fast. I mean, that just happens. You especially if you're racing, racing against the clock in a sense.
Sure.
It's hard to slow down sometimes, and I am probably the world's worst at it. I fish too fast half the time, most of the time, and that's something I'm personally trying to work on as well. But yeah, just sometimes you just got to slow down. You just got to put your head down and slow the presentation down, and that would get into a little bit later on. But that's exactly what had to happen on day two. That's what happened on day two.
Yeah, it's funny to hear you say that you struggle to slow down because didn't you win the national championship by like hanging a Cinco on a log and just letting it sit? Like
more or less.
I mean, it doesn't get slower than that.
That's exactly how I won this event too on the second day.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah,
There's a
right?
theme here.
And yet I have a problem with it. What is up with that?
That's funny. Well, I want to unpack that just really quickly because I do want to move on to kind of some of the warmer temperature stuff. But a lot of times in fishing, I think we generalize things a little bit too much. So when you say you have a problem with slowing down and biggest mistake people make is slowing down, what does that really mean? Is that talking about the amount of water you're covering in a day? Is that your retrieve? Like, how does that break down?
It's the presentation. I mean, and that's going to vary depending on the situation, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
With this past tournament's example, the first day we were catching them on moving baits. Drew was catching them on a crankbait. I was catching them on a chatterbait. The second day, I caught one on a trap, and then that was the only fish I caught on a moving bait. I then had to completely switch tactics and, fish as slow, painfully as slow as I possibly could. Not only because of the changing water temperature and that kind of stuff, but just from the sheer pressure that place got from the day before. Had to switch it up and give them a completely different look.
Yeah. Okay. Makes sense. All right. So let's move on and let's start talking about where it really starts getting good, right? We've had that warming trend, that water's getting into the 60s. It's wanting to creep into the 70s. And now these fish, everyone knows this, right? This is when you're going to have that opportunity to catch those personal best, and have some of your best days of fishing. This is when they're feeding up and they're getting ready, right? They're wanting to dance. What are some of the tactics? What are some of the things that you're looking for? Where are you going in those situations?
For that particular time, I like that 55 to say 62, 63 range for water temps. And that's when I don't have to usually worry about slowing down.
Mm-hmm.
You can throw all those moving baits and those reaction baits and you can rip and jerk and, just really the true power fishing is really where that shines. Whether you're ripping crankbaits or chatterbaits through the grass, or banging stuff off of stumps and logs and laydowns and stuff like that. I mean, those that's where the juice really happens. For me anyway. That's that range there.
Absolutely. And one thing that I find interesting about this particular topic is this is the time of year when you should be able to go out and catch fish with ease, right? I mean, in most conditions, you should be able to go out and find fish and catch them like you just said. But it actually makes tournaments really difficult because when everyone's catching them, it's, how do you separate yourself? So that's kind of one thing I want to talk to you as somebody who is an experienced tournament angler. For a lot of guys watching this, they're fishing locally or maybe nationally too. And, when you're out there and you can fish anywhere and they're biting, how do you find that winning bag? Like, what is the strategy that goes into that?
Well, sometimes it's just a matter of changing your size of your profile, size of your bait. The old adage goes, big bait, big fish.
Mm-hmm.
That's for sure. I mean, that's absolutely true.
Sure.
If you're looking for that bigger bite, and when they're biting, I mean, don't be afraid to throw on something bigger. Bulk up that profile some. Change your trailer on your chatterbait if that's what you're throwing to,
Mm-hmm.
instead of like a smaller paddle tail, go to, a big fork, something big fork tail,
Mm-hmm.
swim bait type of deal, as
Right.
a trailer or whatever, something along,
Some
increase the
bulkier.
size of, increase the size instead of throwing say you're throwing a 3 or 4 inch swim bait, chunk out that 5 or 6 or 7 incher, see what happens.
So you don't feel like it's so much based on location as it is based on the presentation?
It depends on the fishery because sometimes those fish school up by size, lakes like along the Tennessee River system. Some of those things are notorious for schools of fish schooling up by size. You've probably
Mm-hmm.
heard before that, if you get into a school of 2-pounders, well, you can catch 42-pounders and that's all you're going to catch is 2-pounders. And, you need to go, and if you want to look for a bigger fish, then you have to leave that school and go try to find a school of bigger fish.
Sure.
And so that certainly comes into play sometimes. Midwest, specifically like, Indiana lakes, things like that. I don't know if that's really holds up so much. Again, because our waters are a whole heck of a lot smaller than everywhere else. And so it's just a matter of weeding through them, and eventually you'll hang into one.
Gotcha. Okay. Now, kind of progressing, right? Now we're getting really close to the spawn at this point, and there's something weird that happens where it goes from really great to almost tough, like really tough, especially for a lot of anglers struggle right before and during the spawn.
Yeah.
Kind of talk through that a little bit for us.
I think those fish get in a little bit of a funk, especially when they just move up on the beds themselves.
Mm-hmm.
They're not completely locked on. You can see them up there, but then they spook way off, real fast. Those fish are really, and when you find the answer out, let me know too, because I have a hard time with that particular time frame too. Sometimes it's about downsizing your baits, then downsizing your line, staying way off, making really long casts.
Mm-hmm.
Things like that can kind of trick them into biting sometimes.
No, I think you're dead on there. I spent some time out in Arizona, and I reference this from time to time. And out there, a lot of the water's very clear, and I learned a lot of different techniques and tactics out there. But one thing that I really took home was bed fishing, and then this period, right, where you're talking, these fish just got jacked 50 times by lures, and they've seen every boat, that in the state. And now they're getting ready to do their thing. And there's something about their nature that they do. They get very skittish. And that was one thing I would see guys throwing 4 and 6 pound test line, throwing heavy jigs on beds with 10-pound line. They would really, really downsize, and they were standing way, way back. I remember this one cat had, like those platforms they put on like those like saltwater boats for like trout fishing and stuff, and like the inshore stuff.
Yeah.
On those skiffs, he would
Yeah.
have like one of those platforms on his bass boat that he would like strap down to the back, and he would put it up on the front deck. And like it was a smaller version, right? But he would stand on top of that to sight fish, but stay way, way back, because the higher you get, obviously, that angle. So I mean, I'm not suggesting you guys should go get platforms and put them on your kayaks, but you may want to do like a Derek Brundle, get a cooler and stand on your cooler.
Something else to also take in consideration is all fish don't spawn at the same time. So if you're, find yourself stuck in a sense up in that range of, shallow fish where you just can't get them to bite, that you're not going to get them to bite. You know what? Don't beat a dead horse. Leave. Go find other fish that haven't got to that point yet or already in and out, because there's always going to be fish feeding somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. They're going to be done and off, or they're not coming yet, so, and you can catch them. Yeah. Great points. All right. Well, kind of rounding out this early spring tactics thing, you get into they're locked on, right? And we'll kind of merge this with also the post spawn, right? So fish are locked on, and then you've got fish that are done. What is kind of some of the strategies and techniques you're using in that phase?
Locked on fish are some of the easiest fish to catch. I mean, you can see them. They're right there. They're not going anywhere. It's just a matter of getting that bait in that sweet spot to, take them off enough to eat, and they usually will. As far as stuff that's, already in and out, those fish are going to be back out on those staging areas, just like we're looking for pre-spawn. They're going to be using some of those same areas, some of those same highways, some of those same points, bars, drop-offs, weed patches, stumps, all those things that you look for in pre-spawn as post-spawn staging areas, moving back out to their, summer haunts.
Very good. Very good. All right. Well, let's do a little quick kind of Q&A here now that we've talked through the different seasons. So 5 baits you got tied on right now in Indiana. Water temperatures, mid 40s to low 50s.
5 baits.
5 baits.
Jerk bait, rattle trap, chatterbait, jig. And let's see, that's 4, right?
Yeah.
And probably a Tokyo rig.
Okay, great. I just needed to know what to tie on for Monroe Saturday. I was struggling to figure it out. Thanks. That wasn't actually a part of it. No, seriously, that's good. I like all those choices. Now, Tokyo rig, that's a little bit different. That's one that it's been around a little while, but still not a lot of people know about it. So why Tokyo rig over a Texas rig or a shaky head or some of those other traditional, weighted plastic type presentations?
Honestly, I'm still learning it myself.
Okay.
And that's what I used on day 2 at Summit, was a dang Tokyo rig. And
okay.
Yeah, we'll get into that here in a little bit though.
All right, cool. All right, so moving into that second phase we talked about, water temperatures, mid 50s, low 60s, top 5 baits you got tied on.
Probably the same 5.
Okay.
Might throw in a spinnerbait in there somewhere. And then maybe instead of a Tokyo rig, I guess just a straight up Texas rig, something creature bait or whatever.
Okay. All right. Very good. I think we can skip over like fish lay on the bed. Like, I mean, you can choose what you want to throw there. Jig, a swim bait, a lizard, a tube. You can kind of pick and choose. It's more about confidence there than anything.
Yep.
So post spawn, that first section, right? They're between the bed and that transition area. What are you throwing?
Still going to hang with a chatterbait, spinnerbait, some sort of topwater bait at this point in time. I always have a jig on. That's just me. I'm a jig guy, and then a Texas rig of some sort as well.
Okay, very cool. So if I were to ask you about any season or pattern, I got a feeling you're going to tell me those same 5 baits typically.
It depends on the area. It depends on the fishery. I mean, I try to be as versatile as I can. You notice I didn't list crankbait in there on hardly any of that, and that's probably a downfall because crankbaits catch lots of fish. They catch big fish. I suck at throwing crankbaits. I'm gonna be the first to admit I'm not a big crankbait guy. I've got boxes and boxes of them, but I'm not very good at them yet. So I throw other things. I throw things that I'm confident in. So that's
we have a lot of similarities there. I'm not a big anything with a treble hook. I tend to stay away from myself.
Yeah.
I do like doing like a big walking bait. Like that's always been something I've enjoyed.
Yeah, topwater bait, walking baits is different. Yeah, I like
but
throwing stuff.
Yeah, I generally stay away from the treble hooks. Especially ever since I've been in the kayak, it's been even worse because I'm like, I know how easy it is to hook yourself in a boat with a treble hook, and like I don't know, it's pretty easy. But okay, very cool. Well, I think a lot of this is going to translate into our conversation that we're getting ready to have, which is about the state championship. We're going to kind of recap that event. And to do that, we need to bring on the other 2 top performing anglers from that event. We're going to start with the guy who caught big bass, ended up in 3rd place. He made it interesting. Without him, it was kind of a 2-man race, but on day 2, he definitely kind of started making it interesting. And, he had some unfortunate luck, or it would have been a lot closer. He lost a few fish in this event. So we're going to bring on Mr. Adam Murray. What's up, Adam?
Hey, how's it going?
It's going, man. Oh, look, you got a check and some plaques back there.
Yeah, like that. Yeah, I just added the Summit Lake plaque.
Dang, Mikey's trying to show you up, man. Next time you're gonna have to come on with the trophies.
That's all right, man. Looking good back here, Adam.
Looking good. Couple Indy Knights players right here. We got 3 of the Indy Knights on the screen right now. So Adam was a later addition. So if you missed those announcements, Adam also joining the Indy Knights team. We're excited to have him, and he's proven it. Adam, you got the lead taken from you in the state challenge. Joe Gentry, he nabbed that from you. You gonna get back out there and take it?
Yeah, I've seen that. I'm hoping Monroe can produce. Got my fingers crossed. I know it's very capable of giving me that 20-inch fish, and I think I just need a couple. I think two more 20-inch fish will do me pretty well for this month. So I'm hoping for that. And I know Brush Creek also holds some really good fish. So I'm hoping I can hang into one there as well. But I'm going to be focusing more on pre-fishing for the Grubby series now with Monroe this weekend and Brush Creek next weekend. And I believe Brookville follows after that or something. I believe.
Yeah. That's what's great about KBF Challenge Series is it makes those practice fish count, right? Yeah. Same thing with the IKA Big Bass Hunt. Typically that fish would sting pretty bad, but when you catch a 20 in practice and it gets to go towards your monthly total, that's really nice. So, and that 19 and a quarter, I think it was, right? You caught at Summit really helped out as well too.
Yeah, he's sitting on there. He's on the 5.
Yeah, there you go. And the wonderful Susie Roloff, our tournament director, putting up a $50 bonus for Big Bass. That was awesome. Huge shout out to Susie Roloff, Justin Staley, my guy, and Daniel Woody Photography, doing an amazing job out there helping me. I couldn't have done it without them, helping me with the tournament. So huge shout out to those guys. All right, well, let's bring on the runner-up. Bridesmaid to Mike Elsea, my neighbor, Drew Duncan. What's up, Drew?
How's it going, fellas?
Hey, Drew. How you doing, buddy?
Pretty good.
It's going. Man, happy to have you guys on here. Drew, coming up just short. You were a day 1 leader, and you battled hard and made a pro move at the end of that tournament. I want to talk about that here in a minute as we go into this. But, man, I have to first start off by talking about the sportsmanship. The whole field showed great sportsmanship, and I had no doubt that they would. But you two, I mean, you surprised me even still. Mike kind of talked about how small of an area these fish were stacked into day one and day two, and how pressured this water was. And you two found a way to work it out and fish this water together. And it was amazing to see and hear about. I have, speaking of Daniel Woody, our photographer, I have a couple incredible pictures of the two of you shaking hands at the end of this event. And I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I got chills thinking about it, and a little emotional because I have been on the bad side of that way too many times, and seen that go very, very sour. So I want to start the conversation right there. You guys both land up in the same area on day one. You're both catching fish. How do you manage that? How do you work through that?
I'll let you start, Mike.
Another pro move right there from Jason.
I don't, we just, we were spread out, by, I don't know, what was it, Drew, 50 yards or so at the beginning, 100 yards maybe. And, I mean, we had someone, a non-competitor in there, catching a couple fish around us, in front of us, and driving us both crazy. But I don't know if I was actually the first one to put one on the board or not. But after I caught one, and Drew caught one in there behind me, and we just, I don't know, we didn't even really talk about it. We just naturally kind of started going back and forth and working the area together back and forth. I mean, he'd work it one way and I'd work it another, and then he'd turn around on the end, at the end of his line, and I'd turn around on the end of mine, and we'd be working back towards each other, and we just keep passing each other back and forth. I mean, it's like we could almost give ourselves each other a high five as we go by, and that's just essentially how we. If you looked at my graph, my graph, my line on my graph is just basically a straight line, just back and forth, and I think his was too.
Yeah, I had to clear the trail out for day two, so.
Oh. Yeah. So that's there was just a ditch, and we were both working the same ditch, and we worked well together, and man, I enjoyed it.
It was a blast.
I had a good time with him.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
and it was crazy in practice. On Friday, I actually caught a fish on a spinnerbait bouncing off a log on the other side. So I started on the other side, and then I couldn't get bit. And then I switched to a crankbait and had to rip it through the weeds a little bit.
Nice. And so were you throwing a square bill or?
Yeah, well, I had a square bill on it first, but it didn't go deep enough to get into the weeds. So I switched to a 200 series. And as soon as it touched weeds, I'd yank it, and then it would start to float up, and I'd be on it.
What do you guys think it was about that, right? So we're talking spring tactics tonight, and there's recap. What do you think it was about the weeds playing into that and having to rip that bait out of there? What was causing them to feed that way?
I don't know. I just feel like they were in the creek channel, and they weren't quite up all the way yet. And it just definitely took a reaction of the start and stop for me, because I was throwing a crankbait.
There was bait in there too, and like we talked about earlier, though, a week ago or a week prior to that, that whole part of the lake was locked up in ice, and then in less than 6 days, what was locked up in ice was like 50 degrees. And so that sudden warming of the water,
it was party.
It broke a lot of that weeds loose from the bottom. I mean, it dirtied the water up. Yeah. There was a lot of just, it was decaying dead weeds, and it just created the perfect storm, like you mentioned earlier about, there's bait, cover, warmer water. I mean, it had all the components there.
Do you think those fish sucked into that area when that warm water started coming in from the rains and all those logs and all that cover getting warmed up? Or do you think those fish were maybe staged in there under the ice and then that warmth just brought them up and there, like a warm day around here after it's been cold for a while, the entire neighborhood's outside, like and playing and having a good time. Do you think that's what happened or do you think they got sucked into there?
I think a combination of both. I think there was fish that live there all the time.
Yeah. Very good. All right. Well, Adam, man, you weren't fishing in this area, which will be forever famous, I think, if it wasn't already by the amount of boat traffic that was in there. It was. But you weren't technically fishing in the same area. So what were you seeing? What did you find because you got the bites, right? Like you didn't have a limit both days, but it wasn't because you didn't have the bites. You just ran into some bad luck.
Yeah.
And didn't get them in the boat. So what did you find?
Basically grass. They were sticking to that grass. My thinking is like whenever you get high winds or any kind of storm coming in or anything, it's gonna knock up that sediment from the bottom and stuff. And within that you get, I don't know what all, but bacteria, little worms, just
larva.
Yeah, just stuff like that, and that's what's going to bring your bait fish. Well, then of course your bait fish feeds on that, and then from that your bass is going to come follow your bait fish. So that's my thinking on sticking to grass. And I mean, it was literally if I left the grass, I got nothing.
Mm-hmm.
But I did pick up a couple bites off some cattails, but then again, I think it was pretty much the same idea with the wind and the sediment. And I didn't see any bait though until the second day, which was kind of crazy. I could see it on my graph, but the second day, the second day they really started coming. I mean, I could see, certain spots it looked like the water was just moving. You could just see their fins coming to the top of the water.
Nice. That area you were fishing was one of the few areas when I was running around with the graph and looking at stuff that I actually saw grass off the bottom, like and Mike and Drew's area as well. But a lot of that didn't seem to have that. And so that makes sense what you're saying. I don't know if out of the three of you, any of the anglers that had a limit of bites either day, let alone both days.
I only had 6.
What's that?
I said I only had 6 bites both days.
You only had six bites total both days.
Literally 6 bites each day.
Wow. And Drew, on day 1, I know you had a little bit better day than that, but on day 2, you didn't get a bite until the last 30 minutes.
Yeah. We had sort of said we'd leave that spot alone since there was, 16 boats in there almost all day. And I had left on Saturday, and I wanted to try another spot right to the right side of the boat ramp. I've done well there before, didn't know what to expect. And I had a Texas rig crawl on, and there was a 10 by 15 probably weed patch. And I caught one that was an upgrade. It was 15 and, 3/4 or something. And then I took a picture, and before the bait got to the bottom, I had another one on, and I shook him off. And I thought, well, maybe I was a fluke. So I threw in there again, and I got bit again, and I shook him off. So I knew there was 2 fish there. I just didn't know how many was there because it's not a very big area. I mean, the water was 44.7 degrees on Saturday, and it was 44.5 on Sunday.
Oh, wow.
And when I couldn't get bit on Sunday, I left. I don't know. Mike had 4 on the board, and I just couldn't get him to bite on the north end. I tried, I don't know. I had lures everywhere. I mean, every rod I brought was thrown. So I told Mike, I said, well, have at it. I'm going to go try the spot. And I went back, and they were still there. And I caught 13 bass in 30 minutes. The size wasn't there. I knew the bigger ones were up north, but also I wanted to catch fish. And end up doing pretty well there. I mean, I didn't know if there was 5 or not, but ended up being quite a bit more.
You know what's crazy about that is in tournaments, a lot of times, and I'm guilty of it. You'll get off the water, right? You'll pull the plug before you finish out the bank line, and a lot of guys are going to do that in a tournament. They're going to get off early. They're not going to finish it out. They've not gotten a bite all day and they pull the plug. But more times than not in a tournament, it's that last 30 minutes. It's that last few casts that win you the tournament or get you a paycheck. Mike, I know you've seen that through your years of bass fishing too. And this was pretty cool to see you. You went and fished an area no one touched the entire weekend. I know because I was hanging out over there, all weekend. No one touched it. A couple guys kind of came close, but no one went there. And you go down there and man, I wish we would have had the drone on you. We did for a minute. And 30 minutes you catch a bunch and you save your day. You really do. You save your day. And you ended up with, what was it on day 2? Let's see here. Day 2, you had 72.5 inches in 30 minutes.
Yeah.
There was guys that didn't catch 15 inches in 8 hours both days,
I wish I'd have left 30 minutes earlier.
Right. You never know. What could you have found? So here's what happens, guys. If you didn't see the state championship, here's what happens. You guys know first, second, and third. Mike Elsea on day 1 had 79 inches, and Drew had 80.25. It flip-flops a little bit on day 2. Mike Elsea had 82.25 inches, and Drew had 72.5. So if you're good at math, better than I am, and you can do that really quickly, you know that Mike Elsea had 161 inches or 161.5 inches. Drew finished in at 153.25 inches in second place. But it would have been you would have had 80 inches had you not, grinded 100%. It out to the last minute.
I got tired of throwing at the same stump every time, and I couldn't get a bite. I did everything Texas rig and Ned rig, and I did everything I knew to do. And then I caught fish there yesterday. I didn't know if they'd bite on Sunday, but they were still there, and they bit. It was so much different. Like it wouldn't be 2 seconds, and my crawl worm was getting drug away off the weeds. It was just crazy how much more they wanted to feed than the ones up north. But also there was 16 boats in the north end all day Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a big difference between less, no pressured fish and then obviously highly pressured fish.
Yeah.
Right.
And
so,
I had to completely switch gears too, like I was saying, I caught everything on the first day on a moving bait, and the second day, not only did I have to slow down, but I had to give them a completely different look that those fish probably never seen before. I don't know how many people actually throw a Tokyo rig on Summit Lake in the springtime.
Right.
But, if it would, and not only that, but I also downsized my line. I was throwing 6-pound test line.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Yeah. So spinning gear.
And dead sticking it, just like I did. Yeah, you mentioned earlier about hanging a worm on a tree and waiting for it to swim off. That's pretty much what I did. Day 2 at Summit as well. Only it was a little Tokyo rig, just a little the big TRD, and with a 1/8 ounce Titan tungsten weight as my weight, and yeah, that's what got the deal done.
Wow. Now, Adam, you had day 1 52 inches. You only had 3 fish. You had a 19.25 day 1, a 16.25, and a 16. So you definitely were doing better size-wise, right? Mm-hmm. Your average size was a lot larger. You said you're fishing the grass. What did you see day 2? These guys have talked about the change that they saw. Your area wasn't as pressured, so I'm curious. What did you see day 2? You only brought in 1 fish, but I know that's not because you didn't get the bites.
Yeah. So day 2, what had happened is at the end of day 1, I had hooked into that 19.25. and it was right off a main lake point. And I had noticed there at the end of the day that it had started filling up with fish. So whenever I caught that 19 1/4, I just planned on going back there in the morning. Well, I went back in the morning, and it was still full of fish and everything. And they were there, but they wouldn't bite. I couldn't get them to bite off that point. So I round the corner a little bit, and there was a beaver hut, little beaver hut sitting there. And I don't know what the deal was. I don't know if it's because I would randomly cast over on that beaver hut, and I was snagging my line. I don't know what was going on, but right there in between that beaver hut, that at the end of that beaver hut, the grass kind of met. It was like a little spot, and then right at the end of it, the grass would start. Well, I would pull through there and everything, and every once in a while you would have to jerk it through. Well, it just so happens just about every time I hung into a fish there, it would run up in that beaver dam. I'd go to set the hook and snap every time. And it was just crazy turn of events, man. It's luck. I guess luck, bad luck. I don't know. It was the craziest thing. It was beyond frustrating. I know that to hang into, because I was hanging into quality fish. I mean,
right. Good. Yeah. Leaderboard showed it.
And I mean, I don't think the one fish I did put up was 12 1/4. But other than that fish, I don't think I really hung into a fish under 16 inches out there at Summit. I mean, it was, I had a blast. I definitely would love to go back to Summit just because of the quality of fish I was on. I definitely know they're probably still back there. I'd like to go back there here soon. Actually, I've actually considered going there for one of the Grubby series here soon just to see if they're still there.
Yeah, I mean, that brings up a good point. If you're watching this or listening to this later on, like, the Summit Lake has some good fishing in it. I mean, it was tough right now because of the conditions, and how early it is, but it's got quantity and it's got size. So when you're looking at the series in Indiana this year, Grubby's got 5 tournaments on that lake. IK and SIAC will all be there. These are tournaments you should be looking at. I mean, it's going to be fun season out there at Summit. There is some quality fish there. And really, right now, they're kind of stacked up in some areas, but I think you'll be able to you can fish a lot of different ways on this lake. So definitely one to check out. Adam, you're getting ready to go to Monroe. You defend that AOY title with Grassroots Bass Yakking. I'm excited to compete against you again. Not so much this weekend. It's going to be a little bit rough, but I know you're pumped up for that, man. And you started tournament fishing last year, right?
Yeah, man. With the kayak, and I mean,
kayak. Yeah. With the kayak, I know you also done some stuff on the boat side. Drew, do you have any boat experience? Your family is all fishermen, and you guys do some bass fishing from the boat side as well. So I think that's something we all have in common. But I'm excited to see what you guys all do out there this year. And Adam, and I wish you the best of luck. Before we're going to kind of start wrapping things up here, but before we let you go, Adam, top 5 springtime baits. This show's all about spring tactics, so we got to get your top 5.
That would have to be chatterbait. Talk about heat of spring, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Buzz bait. Texas rig. Of course, I got to go with the Ned rig.
Okay.
Even though I don't enjoy really throwing it, it catches fish.
Sure does.
And then probably have to go with probably a fluke.
Okay. All right. I like it. Fluke's old school, man, but it catches fish.
They flat catch them, though.
They do. Well, congratulations again, Adam, on not only impressive season last year, your first year out, winning Angler of the Year on one of the most competitive Grubby series, if not the most competitive Grubby series on the circuit last year. And congratulations on your top 3 finish, big bass. Any sponsors or anyone you want to give a shout out to before we
Blues Baits. He makes just about anything. jigs. He specializes in jigs. He makes some crankbaits. Just about anything. If you guys want to check him out, you can go online, bluesbaits.com. But yeah, he makes just about anything he makes is good quality.
Awesome. And I think he is the sponsor for the Brush Creek series as well.
Yeah, he's offered up some awesome prize packages for the guys this year. I can't wait to get some of those out.
Awesome. Good stuff. And Instagram, how can we follow you?
Bass Yakin AM.
Bass Yakin AM. All right. Final question before you go. Where and what should I throw on Monroe Saturday? No, I'm joking.
If I was you, I would throw maybe go with the Whopper Plopper.
Okay. Whopper Plopper.
Yeah. Maybe a little white hair jig or something like that.
Okay. Should I
bring your ultralight? Put it on an ultralight.
Okay. So should I Carolina rig it too? Like Carolina rigged, ultralight, Whopper Plopper?
I think it's worth a shot. I think that's in your best interest, I think.
All right, cool. Like 60 foot of water by the dam, right?
Minimum.
Okay. All right, cool. Well, Adam, thanks again, man, for jumping on, and I'm sure we'll have you on again.
Yeah.
All right, man.
All right, see you guys.
Dude. See you.
Well, Drew, how about you? That was terrible. That was bad. That was bad.
Top 5 springtime.
Yeah.
Definitely crankbait, chatterbait or spinnerbait, just depending. Sometimes I have one of each. Texas rig tube for sure. If they don't bite the tube, I go to a crawl. Wacky worm or Ned rig for slower, and a little bonus rod. Never know what I throw. I always take 6, usually 3 spinning, 3 casting.
All right, that's a good combo. Anyone you want to give a shout out to or say thank you to?
Yeah, definitely TRC Covers and Titan Tungsten, and BIZZ Baits and everybody that sponsored the tournament. Can't wait to. I'm actually gonna place an order to BIZZ Baits. Nice. Friends and family. So
love it.
Excited to. I'm gonna try to get practice in tomorrow. We'll see.
Yeah. Big event coming up for IK. Last year, the IK champion. That's how you qualified for this event. Definitely you're going to want to kick off the season strong. Everyone's, it's like Aiden against the world when it comes to IK and the Angler of the Year race. But this is an event. It's going to be a tough event. I don't know how good Aiden is on Monroe. He seems to figure it out anywhere he goes. But
his brain's pretty much a fish, so I feel like he finds him anywhere he goes. So
I'm just hoping that he's going to be so consumed with schoolwork that he can't focus, and he falls off there. But no, it's going to be a tough event, man. It's going to be a tough event,
especially all this rain.
Yeah,
it's going to make it a big difference.
Well, generally in the spring, I like rain on Monroe. It seems to get them biting, seems to get them going, but the water's still pretty cold, so I don't know if that's going to happen or not. Let's hope.
And I'm sure it's a lot colder than what it was we were fishing at Summit. So
spray your guides with some Spam because they're going to freeze up on Saturday morning. A whopping 27 degrees with wind chill at 22. But it's going to be sunny, so it'll feel warmer. It'll warm up quick. But best of luck out there, man. Congratulations on your performance here once again at Summit, and look forward to seeing you again out there on the trail this year, and hopefully having you on as a guest once again.
All right. Thank you, Sam.
All right. You bet, buddy.
Bye.
Well, Mike, we might have lost Mike. Looks like we lost Mike. Not sure what happened there, cell phone service or something. But Mike's been an outstanding angler across the state. And let's see. Oh, here we go. We got him back. You there, Mike?
Yeah. Sorry about that. I'm not sure what happened. I think we dropped Adam. I got frozen too.
That's okay. That's all right. I was just bragging about you there for a second. So we've got your top 5. And we've heard your story throughout the night, so we won't make you go through that again. But talk real quick about anyone you want to give a shout out to, say thank you to, and
First of all, man, I want to thank you. I want to thank you and everybody that behind HKB and all the all those that helped put that event on. I mean, you guys did a great job. First one to do like that out of the gate. I mean, y'all did a great job. So I appreciate y'all for that.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that. That means a lot. As an angler, I tried to think about like what I would want in an event like that. I tried to pull from my experiences from other events to put on something. Definitely had a lot of challenges that weren't seen, but hopefully next year we can be even bigger, even better, and I'm going to continue to try and make that as best as possible. I want to qualify. I don't know what I would do if I qualify though. That's an interesting dynamic. I'm gonna have to have somebody else run it, I guess, or pass it off. I don't know, but thank you for that. That means a lot. I'm excited to put up all the coverage from this on the website. I'm working on that over the next few days. So definitely check that out as it comes. But thank you so much. Anyone else you want to give a shout out to or say thank you to?
I mean, my whole support team, I just, I can't thank enough. I mean, Titan Tungsten, Native, Power Pole. I mean, all the guys that, all the folks that support me through this year, through last year, and this year as well. Got a busy schedule ahead, so I'm looking forward to the next one, which is next week. I'm hoping, Lord willing, Pickwick Lake, if it doesn't flood out like crazy,
right,
with all the monsoon weather that's going on right now. So looking forward to that event and just the whole rest of the season. 2021 is going to be awesome.
Yeah, crazy start, but I agree. It is going to be an awesome season. There's plenty to do, both locally and nationally. Like you said, next week, hopefully it happens. They canceled today for the bass out there. Prior to that, man, monsters were being caught on the daily out there. Hearts go out to our friends and families out there in Alabama, man. Heavy storms, tornadoes yesterday. Crazy event, tornadic event. If you guys haven't seen the news on that, go check it out after this. But yeah, man, excited to see what you do out there this season, kicking it off really well with the state championship, and it's going to be a good year for you. I can tell already.
I hope so. We're going to give it all I can.
I know you will. Well, Mike, thank you so much for jumping on, man. I appreciate you guys. He's easy to find on social. Mike Elsea Fishing on Facebook, and I think it's just at Mike Elsea on Instagram, right?
I think so. Yeah,
something like that. Like that. Mike's like, I don't know. I just post, But, type in Mike Elsea, you'll find him. Yeah. You'll see a cool wrapped boat with his name on it. He's so cool. He's got his name on his boat.
Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, you bet, bud. I appreciate you. We'll see you soon, okay?
All right, later.
There you have it, guys. Mike Elsea, spring tactics. Hopefully you learned a little something from it. I mean, that's such a broad topic. We could have spent a lot of time on any one of those pieces, but I really just want to give you guys kind of a big overview there. If there's something specific you guys do want us to talk about, a podcast episode you'd like to see, let me know. Shoot me a message. Leave a comment. Make a post in the Hoosier Kayak Bassing group. If you're not a part of that group, go join it. Reach out to me. Let me know what you guys would like to hear and see on this podcast. Another big thanks to tonight's show sponsor, wherever it is, right there. BIZZ Baits. Hey, if you guys have never done a live, like the mirror thing, it really messes with you. The guys that get it right every time, I don't know how they do it. That's why when you watch YouTube, people are like, yeah, the link's somewhere, because you never know where it actually is. But anyway, huge shout out to tonight's show sponsor, BIZZ Baits. You heard the guys talking about them. They are the real deal. I promise you, try them out. You're going to love them. So go check them out, bizzbaits.com. That merger with True South is awesome. Get all your stuff that you need right there on one website. Next week, just a reminder, guys, we got Brush Creek, Sullivan, and Bluegrass. Grubby Trail Series kicks off next week as well at Bluegrass. So you can double dip at Bluegrass, fish Sullivan, and fish Brush Creek. That'll be really fun, guys. So make sure to get involved in those events. Also, make sure you get those KBF memberships. It's 2021. You probably forgot. You need a new membership. Go get that. Guys, you get a huge amount of value with that, right? Like right off the bat, you're getting a gift card from Fish USA. You're getting a gift card from TRC Covers now. You're getting a gift card from Yak Attack. So it pays for itself automatically. You need those things anyway. Plus, you get to fish in these competitions, qualify for Challenge Series Championship, National Championship, Trail Series Championship, all that kind of stuff. So go get those KBF memberships. They're doing a lot to support the local community here, Grubby, Hoosier Kayak Bass, and all of our series. So let's return the favor, get those memberships, guys. Please give these go lives, these podcasts to share them with your friends and your family. Give us a like and a comment. Check out our website, HoosierKayakBassin.com. We just launched that recently, the updated version of it. Make sure to give us a follow on Instagram. It's really easy. See it up there at the top, Hoosier Kayak Bassin. So please do all those things. Next week's episode will it's kind of hit or miss. I'm trying to work out the details on this. It could be one of a couple things, but it will be something fun. It'll be good. So please check that out, guys. If you want to get your stuff on Hoosier Kayak Bassin, we're all about promoting you guys. Send us your pictures, tag us in your post. Message me, email me, whatever, tag us. We're also looking to put a bunch of content on our website, blogs, videos, and pictures and all that kind of stuff. So send me that stuff, guys. We want to share it. Those sections are not for me to just post stuff about whatever. Like I want to post stuff about you guys. I want to promote you guys as anglers and help inform and grow this community. So send me that stuff. Thanks for tuning in, guys. I appreciate you so much for watching. Hopefully you got something from tonight. And get out there, fish hard, and we'll see you on the next episode of Hoosier Kayak Bassin next Thursday at 8:30. See you then. Thanks, guys.